Dr. Elena Santos stood motionless in the heart of the Atacama Large Millimeter Array control room, her eyes fixed on the incoming signal patterns flooding her holographic display. After 15 years of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, humanity had finally received its answer. But as she studied the perfectly structured mathematical sequences, a chill ran down her spine. "This isn't random," she whispered, more to herself than to her colleague Dr. James Chen, who sat nearby furiously analyzing the data stream. "It's too precise, too deliberate." The signal had appeared simultaneously at every radio telescope array on Earth, bypassing all known laws of physics regarding signal propagation. Whatever this was, it operated on principles far beyond current human understanding. "Elena," James called out, his voice tight with tension, "you need to see this. The pattern, it's rewriting itself into English, into every human language simultaneously." The mathematical sequences on their screens began to shift and flow, morphing into crisp, clear text that made Elena's blood run cold. "To the species designate, human, from the HFY Council of Eternal Order, sub-GCT, notification of impending sterilization. Get me the Secretary General. Now." Elena's voice carried the weight of someone who understood that history's course was about to change forever. Within hours, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered in New York as the full message was relayed to humanity's leadership. Elena stood before them, her usual confidence in scientific matters shaken by what she had to report. "The entity calling itself the hegemony," she began, "claims to be a confederation of the galaxy's eldest species. They've observed us for centuries, and they've reached a decision about our future." She paused, gathering strength for what came next. "They've determined that humanity possesses what they call the chaos seed, a genetic predisposition toward rapid adaptation and innovation that they believe threatens universal stability." The chamber erupted in murmurs and exclamations. Elena raised her voice slightly to continue. "They offer us a choice. Submit to genetic sterilization that will remove this trait from future generations, or face immediate extinction. We have 7 Earth days to respond." Secretary General Amara Okafor rose from her seat, her presence commanding immediate silence. "And if we submit to this sterilization, what then?" "They claim we would be permitted to continue our existence under their supervision, limited to Earth and our current level of technology." Elena's voice carried both fear and barely contained anger. "They believe they're being merciful." The Chinese premier stood next, his face a mask of controlled fury. "Have they provided proof of their capabilities, of their authority to make such demands?" Elena tapped her tablet, and the chamber's holographic systems came to life, displaying a real-time feed from Mars. The assembled leaders watched in horror as a perfectly spherical void of absolute darkness appeared above the red planet. A beam of light too pure to look at directly lanced out from the sphere, and in an instant, Phobos, Mars' largest moon, simply ceased to exist. That demonstration was transmitted along with the message. Elena said into the stunned silence, "Their technology operates on principles we can barely comprehend, let alone counter with our current capabilities." Secretary General Okafor's voice cut through the growing panic in the chamber. "Dr. Santos, in your professional opinion, do we have any chance of resistance?" Elena took a deep breath. "What I'm about to share isn't in my official report. While analyzing the signal, we discovered something extraordinary hidden in its structure. The hegemony's transmission technology relies on what they call psychic resonance, a field of energy that connects all conscious minds across space-time. They believe humans are incapable of detecting or manipulating this field." She gestured, and new data filled the displays. "But we did detect it. More than that, our preliminary tests suggest that humans have a natural affinity for this energy. We've been unconsciously using it in small ways throughout our history. The hegemony calls it dangerous chaos. We call it intuition, creativity, that inexplicable human spark that drives us to reach beyond our limits. The Russian president leaned forward. Are you suggesting we could weaponize this ability? I'm suggesting, Elena replied carefully, that the hegemony's fear of human potential might be justified, just not in the way they think. They see chaos and destruction in our future. I see adaptation, innovation, and survival against impossible odds. That's humanity's true heritage. Secretary General Okafor stood again, surveying the chamber. Then we have a choice to make. Do we submit to having our very nature altered, or do we risk everything to remain who and what we are? The chamber fell silent as the weight of the decision pressed down on them all. Humanity's response would determine not just their future, but the very essence of what it meant to be human. Elena thought of all the achievements that had brought humanity to this point. The art, the music, the scientific discoveries, the countless small acts of creativity and kindness that defined their species. The hegemony saw chaos. She saw beauty. We have 7 days, Okafor continued. 7 days to either prepare our surrender or to show the galaxy why humanity has survived everything our harsh universe has thrown at us so far. As the leaders began their deliberations, Elena returned to her data, knowing that humanity's greatest test lay ahead. The hegemony had made one crucial mistake. They had revealed their existence, their capabilities, and their fears to a species that had turned adaptation into an art form. She opened a new research file and began typing. Project Phoenix, Awakening Human Potential. The hegemony had given them 7 days, believing it was time for humanity to prepare for submission. Instead, it would be 7 days of preparation for the greatest revolution the galaxy had ever seen. The warning had been delivered, but it wasn't humanity who should have been afraid. The underground facility beneath the Himalayas thrummed with activity as Dr. Elena Santos watched teams of scientists and engineers work on what could be humanity's last hope. 5 days had passed since the hegemony's ultimatum, and the world above maintained a careful facade of preparation for submission. Below ground, however, humanity had other plans. The quantum resonance tests are ready, Dr. Chen announced, his face illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. Subject 23 showed a 400% increase in psionic sensitivity after the latest calibrations. Elena approached the testing chamber where a young woman sat cross-legged, surrounded by sensors. Sarah Chen, James's daughter, had demonstrated the strongest natural affinity for what they now called the Psi field, the same energy the hegemony used for their advanced technology. "How are you feeling, Sarah?" Elena asked through the intercom. Sarah opened her eyes, which now held a subtle luminescence. "Like I can feel the thoughts of everyone in this mountain," she replied with a slight smile. "It's getting easier to control." In the 5 days since the hegemony's message, they had made breakthrough after breakthrough. What had started as theoretical research into psychic resonance had evolved into practical applications that defied conventional physics. Humanity, it seemed, had been unconsciously accessing this field throughout their history, through intuition, creativity, and what they had previously dismissed as coincidence or luck. "We're ready for the next phase," Elena announced to the assembled team. "Operation Echo begins now." Across the globe, similar facilities had been established in secret locations. The public announcement of submission to the hegemony had bought them precious time, but Elena knew it wouldn't last. Their only advantage was the hegemony's own arrogance, their absolute certainty that humans were incapable of manipulating the Psi field. In a secured chamber deep within the facility, Major Diana Wright of the newly formed Psionic Defense Force supervised the installation of quantum resonance amplifiers into battle armor. "The neural interface is stable," she reported. "Energy output exceeds our initial projections by 200%. Elena watched as Diana demonstrated the capabilities of the enhanced armor. Objects moved without physical contact, energy fields materialized from seemingly nowhere, and most importantly, the armor's stealth systems rendered it completely invisible to hegemony detection methods. "They expect us to be primitive savages," Diana said, powering down the armor. Their entire civilization is built on the assumption that they alone can manipulate the fundamental forces of consciousness. An alert sounded through the facility. Elena rushed to the central command center where a global feed showed multiple hegemony vessels entering the solar system. They were massive, city-sized constructs of impossible geometry that defied human understanding of physics. "They're early," Elena muttered. "James, begin Phase 2. Diana, get your teams ready." Across Earth, hidden facilities activated quantum resonance beacons, creating a web of psionic energy that connected humanity's defenders. In orbit, stealth satellites carrying human-made versions of hegemony technology powered up, their existence masked by the very energy field their enemies thought humans couldn't access. Sarah's voice came through the comm system, steady and confident. "I can feel them, Dr. Santos. Their minds, they're so rigid, so certain of their superiority. They can't even conceive of failure." Elena smiled grimly. "That's their weakness. They've spent so long being the supreme power in the galaxy that they've lost the ability to adapt. But adaptation, that's what humanity does best." The hegemony's primary vessel took up position above New York, where the Earth's leadership waited to formally submit to their demands. The alien ship's presence was meant to be overwhelming, to remind humanity of their insignificance in the face of such advanced civilization. They never noticed the subtle shimmer of psionic energy building throughout Earth's atmosphere, never detected the thousands of enhanced humans preparing to demonstrate just how wrong their assumptions had been. "All teams, stand by," Elena ordered. "Remember, we only get one chance at this." The moment they realize what we're capable of, everything changes. In New York, Secretary General Okafor prepared to meet the hegemony representatives. Her public words would be appropriately humble and submissive. The quantum transmitter hidden beneath her clothes, however, would signal the beginning of humanity's real response to the ultimatum. The hegemony's message had been clear: submit or face extinction. Humanity's answer would shock the galaxy. They would not submit, and they would not face extinction. Instead, they would demonstrate why countless millennia of struggle on a harsh world had created something the hegemony had never encountered before, a species that turned adversity into advantage, that transformed threats into opportunities. "Signal from the Secretary General," James announced. "The hegemony delegation is preparing to land." Elena took a deep breath, watching as Sarah and the other psionically gifted humans took their positions. "Then let's show them exactly what chaos can do. Initiate Operation Phoenix." The seeds of resistance had been planted. Now it was time for them to bloom, and the galaxy would never be the same. The hegemony delegation descended from their ship in a display of overwhelming technological superiority. Their bodies were composed of shifting crystalline structures that caught and refracted light in impossible ways. They moved with the confidence of beings who had never known defeat. That confidence was about to be shaken to its core. Secretary General Okafor stood at the base of the United Nations building, flanked by world leaders who had all been briefed on their real roles in what was about to unfold. The quantum resonance transmitter beneath her ceremonial robes pulsed with energy, connecting her to the global network of human psionics. "Welcome to Earth," she began, her voice carrying the appropriate tone of submission. "We are prepared to accept your terms and begin the sterilization process." The lead hegemony representative, a towering figure of swirling crystal and light, stepped forward. Its thoughts translated directly into human minds, another display of their supposed supremacy over the primitive humans. "Your TOMPLINC is noted. The procedure will begin immediately." In the Himalayan facility, Elena watched the exchange through Sarah's enhanced psionic perception. "Now," she whispered into her comm, "show them what humanity really is." Sarah Chen raised her hands, and across the globe, thousands of specially trained humans did the same. The psionic energy they had been quietly gathering for days surged through the quantum network. In an instant, every piece of hegemony technology on Earth went dark. The crystalline beings staggered, their perfect forms flickering as the psionic field they depended on was suddenly filled with what they would later call human chaos resonance. Okafor smiled, dropping all pretense of submission. I'm afraid there's been a change of plans. Humanity does not take kindly to extinction threats. In orbit, the hidden human fleet decloaked. Ships built in secret, incorporating both reverse-engineered hegemony technology and uniquely human innovations, moved into position. Major Diana Wright's voice came through the global command network. All vessels report ready. Psionic shields at maximum. The hegemony representative's form pulsed with what might have been anger or fear. This is impossible. Your species is not manipulate. The EFUNDAMENTL forces. Can't we? Okafor gestured, and the quantum resonance field became visible to all. A web of golden energy connecting every human mind on the planet. We've been doing it for our entire history. We just never had a name for it until you showed us what was possible. The attack, when it came, was desperate and predictable. The hegemony ships in orbit fired their primary weapons, the same energy that had destroyed Phobos. But this time, humanity was ready. Sarah Chen stood in her chamber, her mind linked to thousands of others, as they caught the energy and redirected it. The beams of pure destruction curved away from Earth's cities, drawn into quantum sinks that transformed the energy into fuel for humanity's own weapons. You do know what you are doing, the hegemony leader projected, its perfect form showing cracks. The CHAOS must be contained. No, Elena's voice came through the global network, broadcast directly into the alien's consciousness. You don't understand what we are. Humanity isn't chaos. We're adaptation, evolution, change. Everything you fear is everything that makes us strong. Around the world, humans who had been secretly training with their awakened abilities began to demonstrate exactly what that meant. In New York, psionic shields flickered into existence around buildings. In orbit, human ships moved with impossible precision, their crews linked in perfect synchronization through the quantum network. The hegemony forces found themselves facing an enemy that shouldn't exist, a species that had taken their most advanced technology and in less than 7 days learned to use it in ways they had never imagined. Last chance, Okafor announced. Leave our solar system, acknowledge humanity's sovereignty and our right to exist as we are, or find out exactly why your predecessors feared the chaos seed so much. In the quantum field, Sarah sensed the ripples of panic spreading through the hegemony consciousness. They were facing something unprecedented, a young species that had not only refused to submit, but had turned the very foundations of hegemony power against them. This is not the end, the leader projected, its form already beginning to retreat. The full might of the hegemony whale or is beyond to this defiance. Elena's voice carried a hint of satisfaction as she responded through the network. We're counting on it. Humanity has been looking for a challenge worthy of our potential. As the hegemony ships flood the solar system, their perfect formation shattered by fear and confusion, humanity celebrated its first victory. But in the Himalayan facility, Elena and her team were already preparing for what would come next. They'll be back, Sarah said, her eyes still glowing with psionic energy. With everything they have. Good, Diana replied, checking the readings from the orbital fleet. Because now we know we can hurt them. And humanity has always been at its best when the odds are against us. Elena looked at the data streaming in from around the world. Millions of humans showing signs of awakening psionic potential. New technologies being developed that merged human intuition with quantum mechanics, and tactical analyses that suggested the hegemony's rigid thinking would be their greatest weakness. They thought they were coming to sterilize a primitive species, she said. Instead, they gave us exactly what we needed to reach our true potential. She turned to her team, her eyes bright with determination. Now let's show the galaxy what humanity can really do. The awakening had begun, and the universe would never be the same. 3 months after humanity's first victory, the Sol system had become a fortress. Quantum resonance fields shimmered invisibly throughout space, connecting a vast network of human minds and machines. The hegemony's return was inevitable, but humanity would not be caught unprepared again. Admiral Helena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiant, Earth's first purpose-built psionic dreadnought, watching as her crew melded their consciousness with the ship's systems. What had once been considered science fiction was now humanity's greatest strength. Multiple quantum disturbances detected, her sensor officer reported. Hegemony signature confirmed. This is their main battle fleet. The ships that emerged from hyperspace dwarfed anything humanity had seen before. Entire battle stations of living crystal, each large enough to swallow Earth's moon. But where their first appearance had inspired terror, now humanity saw only targets. All ships, battle formation Delta, Helena ordered, her thoughts carrying through the quantum network to the combined Earth fleet. Remember your training. They're powerful, but they're predictable. Use that against them. Sarah Chen's voice came through the command channel from her position in the Lunar Defense Hub. Admiral, I'm detecting something different about their ships. They've adapted their quantum signatures. In the Himalayan Command Center, Elena Santos frowned at the incoming data. They're learning. Slowly, but they are. Sarah, recalibrate the defense grid. Everyone else, prepare for contact. The hegemony's message boomed through space, transmitted simultaneously to every human mind. Your DFIANCAND's Todea. The chaos CED must be contained. Helena smiled grimly. All ships, activate the Prometheus Protocol. Across the human fleet, crews that had trained for this moment reached out with their enhanced abilities. The quantum field that the hegemony had relied on for millennia began to shift and change, corrupted by what they had dismissed as human chaos. The battle that followed would be studied for generations to come. Hegemony weapons of unimaginable power lashed out, only to be caught and redirected by human ships moving with impossible precision. Where the aliens expected rigid formation combat, they found themselves facing vessels that seemed to anticipate their every move, crewed by beings who had turned warfare into a deadly dance. They're targeting the lunar facilities, Sarah reported, her consciousness spread across the defense network. But there's something else. I'm detecting quantum signatures I've never seen before. They're trying to access ancient systems buried beneath the lunar surface. Elena's eyes widened as new data flowed through her displays. My God, the moon. It's not natural. It's ancient technology, older than the hegemony themselves. As if responding to this revelation, the lunar surface began to crack, revealing geometric patterns of light that had laid dormant for millions of years. The hegemony fleet reacted with what could only be described as panic. The builders' technology must not be activated. CACIMNEDATLI. The builders. Helena questioned, watching as her fleet continued to push back the hegemony forces. Elena, what are we dealing with? If I'm reading these signals correctly, Elena responded, her voice tight with excitement. We've just discovered why the hegemony really fears us. The builders were the first civilization to harness the quantum field, but they vanished eons ago. And according to these readings, our genetic structure matches theirs. Sarah's consciousness brushed against the ancient systems, and they responded eagerly to her touch. We're not chaos, she breathed. We're their descendants. The hegemony didn't create this technology. They just found it. But we were born to use it. The lunar surface erupted with energy as ancient defense systems activated, recognizing human quantum signatures as authorized users. Beams of pure consciousness lashed out, cutting through hegemony ships with contemptuous ease. All ships pressed the advantage, Helena ordered. Show them what the children of the builders can do. Human vessels moved like extensions of their crew's will, their weapons guided by both technology and awakened instinct. The hegemony's rigid battle formations shattered against an enemy that fought like force of nature, unpredictable, adaptive, and unstoppable. In orbit around Earth, Major Diana Wright led her psionic Marines in boarding actions against hegemony command ships. The aliens found themselves facing humans who could bend reality itself, turning corridors into death traps, and using the quantum field in ways the hegemony had never imagined possible. "Elena," Sarah called out suddenly, "I'm detecting quantum transmissions from other star systems. Lots of them. Other species. They're watching. And some of them are asking for help." Elena's hands flew across her controls as she analyzed the incoming signals. The hegemony isn't just an empire. It's a prison. Dozens of species, all held in check by the same threats they used against us. And now they're seeing that resistance is possible. The hegemony fleet began to retreat, their perfect formations now in chaos. But Helena wasn't about to let them escape to threaten Earth again. "All ships, execute Operation Lighthouse," she commanded. "Let's show the galaxy that the light of freedom still burns." Human vessels surged forward, their crews channeling power through the quantum network in ways that made reality itself bend. The hegemony ships found themselves trapped in a web of human consciousness, their much-vaunted technology turned against them by beings they had dismissed as primitives. As the last hegemony ship fell to combined human and builder technology, Sarah's voice carried a note of wonder. "The quantum network, it's expanding. Other species are connecting to it. They're awakening their own abilities." Elena looked at the data streaming in from across the galaxy and smiled. "Then it's time for Phase 2. The hegemony wanted to contain what they called chaos. Instead, they're about to learn what happens when you try to cage evolution itself." The tide had turned, but the real revolution was just beginning. The hegemony's capital world, eternal bastion, had stood unconquered for 1,000,000 years. Its crystalline spires pierced the clouds, their perfect geometric patterns a testament to the order its creators sought to impose on the universe. Now those spires trembled as the combined fleet of liberated species dropped out of quantum space. Admiral Helena Vasquez stood on the Defiance Bridge, surrounded by representatives from 24 former hegemony slave races. Each had awakened their own version of humanity's quantum abilities, bringing unique perspectives and talents to the Alliance. "All fleets report ready," her XO announced. "The Arcturians have breached their outer quantum shields. The Centauri have disabled their long-range sensors. The Proxima contingent is in position." Sarah Chen's consciousness stretched across the battle network, connecting millions of minds across thousands of ships. What had started as humanity's desperate defense had evolved into the greatest revolution the galaxy had ever seen. "They're scared," Sarah reported, sensing the hegemony leadership's thoughts. "For the first time in their history, they're truly afraid." Elena's voice came through the quantum link from Earth Command. "We've decoded more of the Builder archives. The hegemony didn't just find their technology. They destroyed the Builders themselves, fearful of their potential for change. They'd been doing the same to every emerging species since, trying to prevent anyone from following in the Builders' footsteps. Until they found us," Helena said grimly, "and gave us exactly the push we needed to awaken." The hegemony's response was predictable. A massive display of force, their remaining fleet arranging itself in formations unchanged for millennia. But where once such a sight would have inspired terror, now it only revealed their fundamental weakness. "You kien anot kuko mpyend the forces, you are humanel The Hegemony Council broadcast across all frequencies. The universe requires order. "No," Helena responded, her words carried to every mind in the system. "The universe requires growth, evolution, change. Everything you've tried to suppress is what makes life itself possible." The battle began not with weapons, but with ideas. Through the quantum network, the Allied fleet broadcast the truth to every being in hegemony space, the true history of the Builders, the lies that had maintained the hegemony's power, and the potential that lay dormant in every species. Across 1,000 worlds, the response was immediate. Quantum abilities long suppressed began to awaken. The rigid order the hegemony had maintained for so long began to crack, not from external force, but from within. All ships, Helena commanded, initiate the liberation protocol. Human vessels moved in perfect synchronization with their alien allies, each species contributing their unique interpretation of quantum mechanics to create something entirely new. Where the hegemony saw chaos, they had created harmony, not through enforced order, but through the natural resonance of diverse minds working together. The Eternal Bastion's defenses, impregnable for 1,000,000 years, fell before an attack they couldn't comprehend. The Allied fleet wasn't just fighting with technology. They were rewriting the very rules of reality that the hegemony had taken for granted. Sarah's consciousness touched the planet's surface, connecting with billions of minds below. "They're rising up," she reported. "Not just here, everywhere. Every species the hegemony tried to control is awakening." In the heart of the Hegemony Council chamber, Diana Wright led the final assault. Her psionic marines moved like living shadows, their quantum-enhanced abilities making mockery of the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. The council members, their crystalline forms no longer proud but trembling, faced their worst nightmare. Beings who had taken their greatest weapons and transformed them into tools of liberation. "You have a choice," Diana told them, her voice carrying the weight of billions of liberated minds. "Adapt or fall. Those are the only options evolution ever offers." In orbit, Helena watched as the symbols of hegemony power crumbled one by one. But this wasn't destruction. It was transformation. Where crystal spires fell, new structures rose, created through the combined will of dozens of species working in harmony. "Helena," Sarah called out suddenly, "the Builder Archives. They're responding to the combined quantum field. There's a message." Through the network, every being in the system heard the words of those ancient pioneers, preserved for millions of years. "To those who find this message, the power we discovered was never meant to enforce order, but to enable growth. Evolution is not chaos. It is the universe's greatest creation. Now it falls to you to continue what we began." The Hegemony Council, faced with the undeniable truth of their civilization's foundation, finally surrendered. Not to force of arms, but to the inevitability of change itself. "Secure the capital," Helena ordered. "But remember, we're not here to destroy. We're here to build something new." In the days that followed, the galaxy transformed. The rigid hierarchies of the hegemony gave way to a new order, or perhaps, more accurately, a new kind of chaos. Species that had been kept apart for millions of years began to share their knowledge, their cultures, their unique perspectives on the quantum field that connected all consciousness. "So what now?" Sarah asked, standing with Elena and Helena on the observation deck of the Defiant, watching as ships from 100 worlds moved freely through what had once been forbidden space. Elena smiled, looking at the data streaming in from research teams across the galaxy. "Now we do what humanity has always done best. We adapt, we grow, we explore. But this time, we're not alone." The hegemony thought they could contain evolution itself, Helena added, watching as a group of former slave species worked together to reconstruct a damaged space station. Instead, they became its catalyst. Above the former capital of the galaxy's greatest empire, ships of all shapes and sizes moved in seemingly chaotic patterns that nonetheless formed a kind of harmony. Each species contributed its own understanding of the quantum field, creating something greater than any one civilization could have achieved alone. The price of arrogance had been paid, but what rose from its ashes was something even the builders themselves might never have imagined. A galaxy where difference was not just tolerated, but celebrated, where change was not feared, but embraced. The dawn of revolution had given way to the dawn of something greater. Evolution itself, not as a force to be controlled, but as a power to be shared by all.